Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do the final trawl through the Lori Vallow Chad Daybell document dump. That's the document dump that was 2,500 pages long, and this is going to be a really nitpicky, really anal, OCD look at the documents, the things that maybe the mainstream media didn't bring up. So let's get into it. So as you probably know, Charles Vallow had a life insurance policy through Banner Life, and here Charles Vallow notices someone is trying to access his life insurance. This is the email that Charles Vallow sent to Banner Life Insurance Company on February 26, 2019. It reads, "My name is Charles Vallow, and I bought the Banner Life policy a few years ago and have the payment drafted from my account ending in redacted. I spoke with Kevin Della Rosa, and he could not authenticate the password listed on my account. He said one was placed on February 20th, 2019. It was not by me. I requested an investigation as I believe it's my soon-to-be ex-wife who fraudulently placed a password on the account. I want to change the beneficiary to my sister, Ethel Kathleen Woodcock. I have an order of protection against Lori Vallow as she has physically threatened my life in the past 30 days. Please get back to me at my new phone number at redacted. My old phone number was redacted. Please get with me as soon as possible. Sincerely, Charles Vallow." So now we can add that date to the timeline. February 20th, 2019, someone had tried to change the password on his life insurance policy. The document dump also includes another keening email from Charles to Lori on March 19th, 2019. It reads, "Lori, it's been 49 days since JJ or I have heard anything from you or your family. I informed you in the last email that if we didn't hear anything by Monday, March 11th, I would be left with no other decision than to take further action. I'm hoping and praying with JJ that you may reconsider. Therefore, I will keep the house until the end of April in the hopes that you'll come see your son. He's doing well. He's actually taking his own tubby, washing his own hair, and getting on his own jammies. After his tubby, he actually sits with me for a few minutes and then takes himself to bed so we can do scriptures, and he goes right to sleep. He did get his first real haircut, and it's adorable as he is. He's having fun with lots of his new buddies and cousins. He had his well check in March, and I sent you the form. He's doing quite well. I'm sure you're aware I did withdraw him from school so he could be close to the rest of his family. Of course he misses redacted most, but it was your decision to cut that off. He's being homeschooled with an experienced special needs teacher. I make no judgment, Lori. I only want what is best for JJ, and having you in his life is crucial to his well-being and development. Please see your son, or at least call him. He does miss you terribly and simply cannot understand where you went. Please do or say something. For him. He deserves it. Please, Charles." And here's some random different documents that mention the death or the murder of Charles Vallow. Here's a picture of the murderer of Charles Vallow, in my opinion. This document looks like it's a recounting from something that originally came from Charles and it went to Adam Cox. And then Charles Vallow's relatives pulled it up and sent it to the police. We'll read the substance of this letter from Charles Vallow to Adam. "Adam, open this letter and see what she did. I'm not sure the relationship with her and Chad Daybell, but they are up to something. She created an email alias for me, as I've never set this one up. She sent this yesterday, and I guess she forgot all her emails are on the computer at my house. I asked her to explain it, and she started blaming you, Brandon, and me for perpetuating a scheme against her. Just more of her paranoia. She will not explain it. I'm going to send it to Chad Daybell's wife. Her name is Tammy, and I found her email address on their website. I've got her cell number, too. It sounds very suspicious to me. What do you think? Whenever she gets caught doing this kind of stuff, she starts blaming everybody else, mostly me, you, and Brandon. Brandon and I are the victims of her craziness. I wish you luck trying to help her. I was the only one brave enough to try to get her help in January, and look what happened to me. The whole family put a scarlet letter on me. Maybe now they can see what they're up against. Thanks, Charles." So just note the date for the record. The date stamp originally for this letter was June 29th, 2019. And essentially, Charles is low-key threatening to tell Tammy Daybell about his suspicions. So we know that Charles Vallow is later killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. And we also know that initially the police believed the claim of self-defense. Kay Woodcock wanted to know if the police had ever done GSR on anybody's hands that were in the house that day. Did they do it on Alex? Did they do it on Lori? To assess who really truly shot the gun or shot a gun. And they tell Kay Woodcock here, this is the police, this is in March of 2020. Hey, Kay, we did not swab their hands. Gunshot residue tests are not used very often, and at the time we did not have any reason to think we needed to. In other words, the guy was saying I killed him in self-defense, so I guess they didn't think that they needed to question not only the fact that it was self-defense, but question that he was actually the one that did it. And they're telling Kay here that they're positive that Chad's cell phone records put him in Idaho on the day of the incident, just to rule out who else could have shot Charles. Here's an email to Detective Moffat from Cheryl Wheeler. Cheryl Wheeler is the ex-wife of Charles Vallow and the mother of his older children. She's irritated clearly here. She asks how they can obtain Charles Vallow's autopsy that's been 6 months. And she says, if I don't hear from you, I'll alert the press, as they seem to obtain crucial information that, the family cannot obtain. In addition, I will have my attorney contact your department and you directly. I had such high hopes. You looked his sons in their eyes and promised you would be helpful. Respectfully, Cheryl Wheeler. I understand her feelings here. I also want to note that in the file, at one point, something that was told to Cheryl via email got leaked to the press regarding Lori's possible involvement in Charles's murder. This is later, but that didn't look good. So I don't know at what point that it kind of soured with her and the police department. But yeah, they totally did not respect getting emails leaked. Just FYI, they didn't like that. The next set of documents deals with the mortuary that Charles Vallow was sent to. These are kind of odd, so bear with me. You will see probably at trial all the different law enforcement agencies will be called to the stand to present different evidence that they uncovered or reviewed, and then the FBI, and everybody's getting involved to look at these phone records. I mean phone records from the known phones of Charles and Lori and Alex and all the associated parties and spouses and the burner phones. So they're going through all these phone records and they find a strange 7-minute, 14-second phone call from one of the numbers, okay, to the Valley of the Sun mortuary on July 12, 2019. So it was the day after Charles Vallow was killed. That's what they're saying here. And then they attach the obituary for Charles Vallow from the website. And it mentions the Valley of the Sun mortuary, all right? So you're thinking, okay, yeah, maybe Lori's calling and very quickly getting the funeral and the mortuary arrangements nailed down. But they put on here, based on the timing and the length of the call, and blank, so that would be Chad Daybell, in my opinion, as a cemetery sexton, Chad may have called the mortuary to discuss funeral arrangements for Charles. We thought the mortuary may have documented this call in their records, so they wanted to try and see if they could get a copy of that call. So then they did a little more research into the conversion, and it looks like the call actually occurred on the evening of the 11th, all right? Their website, that would be the mortuary, says they accept calls 24/7, so it's possible that someone answered at that time of the night. So if I'm reading this correctly, that means that the call was actually placed on July 11th. So later in the evening on July 11th, the same day that Charles Vallow was killed. Was that after the pool party then? This is an email from Cole Vallow, one of the older sons of Charles, to the Detective Moffat. I just want to direct your attention to the paragraph. We also met with the funeral home recently. Charles is at the Valley of the Sun mortuary in Chandler. The person in charge of Charles there is Christopher J. Hogard. He said he is not allowed to tell us much information legally. Just as a note, he seemed oddly nervous talking to us, and all three of us, Zach, Cheryl, and I, picked up on it individually. He also didn't seem to want to interact with Cheryl. These are just notes that we thought sounded strange. Yeah, it is strange. I guess this whole entire case is strange. So you never know what the people at the Valley of the Sun mortuary were thinking. I highly doubt they were in some kind of cahoots with this group, but you just never know. Remember how I put in the previous dump video, the phone numbers and the vehicle information for the parties, and I had it heavily redacted? And then I told you how the redactions are not consistent. Well, looky here. Yep, right there. All the phone numbers. So now from now on we can just use this list. We'll know which numbers went with which person. And the law enforcement agencies and the FBI were just going through all the accounts, all the social media, all the phone numbers. And here you see that they found some concealed phone numbers and names. When examining both iCloud accounts, I was able to locate several numbers that were linked to key players. In this case, the numbers were disguised under false names. So though reading through the contents of the messages, I was able to identify the following numbers. The numbers are redacted in this particular email, but just to let you know that when you're doing, in my opinion, if you're not doing something wrong, you tend to not get a burner phone. You don't tend to change the numbers and the names of people if you're not doing something hinky. So we all knew that they were doing something hinky, but it's further evidence of it when you're putting the wrong people's names on a number, just because when it pops up, you don't want it to look suspicious. Guys, this group, they thought they were criminal masterminds, and they absolutely were not. And some of them in my mind are still acting like they're criminal masterminds, and they're not. Here's one example. Remember when that fraudulent email got sent out, right? Asking Chad to come to Arizona, allegedly coming from Charles, and then Charles found it and said, Lori, what are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. Well, the account was set up with the fictitious name of Redacted, all right? The date of birth associated with the account, like, you know, when you make like a random account, like a Hotmail account, you can put up, put like January 1st, 1990 as your birthday. It doesn't matter. You know, it's a throwaway account. And so the number used for the account was Lori's, and they give you the redacted information. She would use this email to converse with Chad at blank and blank. The account was established on April 22nd, 2019. She used it to ask Chad to come to Arizona as blank on April 27th to speak. It appears he did come, and then she sent him a thank you note on April 30th. So, hello, you're caught. Lori is the one that set up that email. You know, the one where she had Charles seemingly asking Chad to come and stay and help him write a book, you know. It says here, Lori would send emails from her blank account to the blank, and then either one of the two mentioned for Chad. Most contents were fake emails to get him to come to Arizona, or links to her singing on blank. Singing. I mean, we haven't been blessed with that yet. Videos of her singing. I guess there are some small mercies, right? So the FBI was going through all their databases to see where these jokers were at different points, especially once they went on the lam. And basically they found that both Lori and Chad had rented cars in the previous 9 months, and that Chad had the last rental car when he rented a Nissan Altima from November 29th to December 1st in Fullerton, California. And they note here that they drove 187 miles for the duration of the rental. So this is when Chad and Lori were in California. The authorities were trying to assess the social media presence of the victims and the perpetrators. They noted that Lori and Alex both had Snapchat accounts. Tylee and Alex both had Skype accounts in their names. Alex and Melanie had WhatsApp accounts. Lori and Melanie might have had Venmo accounts. I think we now know that Tylee had Venmo and had allegedly sent something to her brother Colby, but more than likely it had been Lori doing it, not Tylee after a certain point. And outside of the phone number searches they did, they found Facebook pages for Tylee and Melanie. They found a Twitter account for Tylee. They list here Tylee's Facebook, Twitter, and Melanie Boudreau's Facebook. They also looked at everything, looked at the Carfax reports and all kinds of other information. They were, checking the airlines, checking to see who left the country and everything. They also noted that Lori Vallow had a Hawaii driver's license that was still valid until June of 2023. So after the authorities got a good idea of their timeline of when they thought that Tylee was murdered and when they thought that JJ was murdered, or at least went missing, then whenever they would look back at, say, the Facebook records of Tylee, there wasn't a lot of glaring stuff until maybe, say, after she was missing, and then the IP login information would show California and Kansas. So someone had access to her login, but they had reason to believe it's her because she wasn't seemingly alive at that time. And in my opinion, this sort of behavior is a cover-up. It's a consciousness of guilt. You know that Tylee's not with us anymore. You know that Tylee would have some kind of social media presence, after her birthday and things like that. And so you log into Facebook and you pretend to post something, or you at least look and respond to email messages if someone's concerned saying, "Where are you? I haven't heard from you." And then you pretend to be her and reply back. So someone seemingly was logging in to Tylee's Facebook after she was deceased, and I suggest that that's consciousness of guilt on Lori's part. That's an assumption I'm making, and there it is. As far as I know, we haven't actually seen this picture, but there's a picture showing Lori, JJ, Tylee, and Alex together, and they're driving a Ford SUV or truck, and I believe it's thought to be the last known picture of Tylee. This was at Yellowstone on 9/8/2019. Okay, so according to the metadata, there are pictures of Lori, JJ, Tylee, and Alex together in a Ford truck SUV, and they're at Yellowstone. And then there's no more photographs of Tylee based on the metadata. Okay, and they make a note here. I'm not certain she made it back from this trip. I think she did probably make it back from the trip. I just don't think there was any other pictures taken of her. I think, in my opinion, they probably felt more comfortable disposing of her at the apartment or on Chad's property. In my opinion, they weren't going to do it at a place as busy as Yellowstone, but I also think this is why so many people who were doing research on this case and searching got very excited about the Yellowstone lead and thought maybe she was there at Yellowstone. But no, I personally don't think that they would have done something to her in such a public place, and where so many people are tourists and have their iPhones going. And it turns out that there's also a picture of JJ that was in some information that people sent in, pictures of that day, and he was seen just like skittering around outside the Old Faithful geyser. So we know that he continued to live until the 23rd. This is the last known picture of Tylee. We don't have it in the document dump. The next set of documents is about one of JJ's schools, Life Academy. I like it when people that are associated with this case or on the fringes of this case do a nice long overview of what they've seen. So that's why I'm going to read this to you. This is from the Life Academy. Here's what I can share. Around February 5th, JJ became absent from school. Around February 11th of 2019, Charles, dad, came in and shared Lori, mom, had gone quote-unquote crazy and quote had lost it. He had no idea where she was and she had just disappeared. He further mentioned Lori, mom, was speaking about religious voices speaking to her. He shared he had an order of protection in place. This was not for JJ, but rather for mom and dad. He shared he was taking JJ to Louisiana to be with family until he felt JJ was safe. Charles and JJ did return to us around February 21st. To our knowledge, mom was still not to be found. Lori Kleinman, that's not Lori Vallow, did make a report to CPS given the talk of mom still being gone and the different order of protections to ensure we were doing our due diligence in protecting JJ. Around the first week of March, Charles withdrew JJ and shared he was taking JJ to Texas to be with family. He was withdrawn technically on March 7th. We did not hear further from the family. Around late June, we were contacted by mom sharing that she and Charles were back in Gilbert with JJ and they wanted to see if he could join our summer program, which we did enroll him in. JJ started back with us in our summer program and I believe back with therapies. We then received an email from Lori asking if they could enroll JJ back in our private academy with Miss Nicole, his previous school teacher. At the end of July, Lori, mom, came in to share with us that Charles, dad, had committed suicide and JJ didn't know. Okay, again, consciousness of guilt. He committed suicide. He did not commit suicide. No matter how you look at that self-defense, he didn't commit suicide. That's a side note. Let's get back to it. This was between the week of July 22nd and July 26th. We believe she shared this with us. Mom had shared it, happened the week before. Given how strange the situation and the history was, Jamie Noe and Lori Kleinman Googled Charles Vallow, at which time we learned he had been killed in a family altercation on July 11th. When JJ started his academy year with us on August 5th, he was in Miss Julia's classroom. To our knowledge, JJ was told his dad was traveling. He did have days where he seemed sad and distressed. Close to his last day with us, he did share with Miss Julia, quote, "My dad is not in heaven, he is traveling." Mom withdrew via email and phone on September 5th. Mom shared she got a promotion in California and needed to leave immediately. We were never able to get Mom to follow the formal process with signatures, and we never received a request from his new school asking for his records, which are not normal. Mind you, they had called CPS. Keep that in mind. I'm thinking that's why you're going to see in the next documents Lori peeping on the school. Okay, that's my opinion. So Life Academy is in communication with the law enforcement agencies and telling them what they know and giving over records. And they verified that Lori had been continuing to follow JJ's classroom blooms and their organizational communication through Tuesday. Now think, this is February 6, 2020. Then they found that, they shut her out completely, but they thought that she was still using a different email address. Okay, so they discontinued her through their email distribution, but they missed Blooms, which is probably some kind of operational or some kind of thing they use. I don't know what Blooms is, but it's obviously something that they communicated on and had information on. And they said, "It bothers me and quite honestly causes me concern. My feeling is she may have been watching for posts maybe about the investigation as such, but it just bothers me." You reckon? Yeah, I think she was peeping the investigation. That's what I think. So the CEO of the school was working with the authorities and was trying to access what they could regarding this balloons to see the history and to try to identify the IP address or addresses and the source of who was viewing it. And they escalated the request, and I do believe that they might have found 3 different addresses that were suspicious that were looking at this information. So this is just some random information from the document dump. We can familiarize ourselves with the different people that were notified of the early investigation. You got the Chandler PD with Moffett. You've got the Gilbert PD with Pilar. Gilbert PD with McDermott. You've got the cast from FBI. That's the group that puts together all the Google information, all the pings and everything, and makes this overall graph of who probably had the phone and whose phone was it and where they went and stuff like that. So you've got the cast group from the FBI. You've got, oh gosh, all these FBI folks from different areas. You've got Rexburg PD, Hermosillo, Hagen. There's also other people that get added on to these chains. I probably didn't even use the most accurate one. There was a lot of folks that were involved in this investigation. Remember when there was the attempted murder on Tammy Daybell, allegedly by Alex Cox, and she thought it was likely some kid with a paintball gun, but more than likely it was Alex with a rifle and a silencer. And then she went on Facebook right after and posted about the encounter. Here it is, Tammy Daybell, October 9th. "Okay, neighbors, something really weird just happened, and I want you to," I'm going to try my best. This is kind of cut off. I want you to watch out. "I had gotten home and parked in our front driveway, and as I was getting out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask was suddenly at the back of my car with a paintball gun. He shot at me several times, although I don't think it was loaded. I yelled for Chad, and I think he ran to the back of my house. I have no idea what his motive was, and he never spoke." I think she said something to him several times, like what he thought he was doing. "And I was about to smack him with my freezer meals from enrichment tonight when I decided to yell for Chad instead." So this is an anonymous email that was received and sent over to the authorities, allegedly from a friend of a friend who knows friends of the Daybells or relatives. And here's the information. Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, allegedly the source was Melanie Gibb. They met technically September 23rd, 2019 through Jason Mao at the temple. Chad was told around that time by one of the three Nephites, Mathoni, that a special woman would come into his life. November 2018, together at this point at the Mesa Preparing a People event time, Chad and Lori are sealed to each other in the temple, where they traveled to another upper room, and Moroni gave Lori to Chad. The Savior was there. Moroni and Chad have been married to Lori in many other probations. Lori is their favorite spouse. Lori has been on 21 planets and Chad 31, once he was a Holy Ghost. Chad 5 times on this earth, and Lori has been 4. Chad makes a portal in Lori's closet so she can visit him. At this time, Chad told Melanie he has no relationship or interest in Julie Rowe. He also previously said he didn't want anything to do with Suzanne Freeman. By the way, these are 2 of his published authors through his publishing company. Let me get back to this. Lori and Chad believe they're in charge of gathering the couples for the 144,000. They make charts of who the people are and who is sealed to who and how many probations they've had and who they have been in past lives. This chart was on Chad's computer and in his email, so it is now public property. The 12 apostles are on this list. Tammy is on the list and was put down as being married to John the Beloved, who is also Enoch. Chad calls Lori and tells her that Charles is now an evil spirit and his spirit is in limbo. He was hijacked again and became Garrett. Then he became Eblos. 10,000 to 20,000 zombies. I want to make a note here that allegedly that Charles has morphed from this Ned Schneider into this zombie Garrett into this other thing. I think it was called Hiplos by somebody else, and now it's called Eblos. I don't know these people. I don't know if they're actually in the Mormon hierarchy. I don't know who these people are. During this time, Lori is completely open to Charles, who she thinks she is. In other words, she's telling Charles that she thinks she's exalted or whatever. When she met Chad, she had already been translated in her mind and stopped wearing garments because they are meant to be a protection, and she no longer needs it. Charles files for divorce and does business trips to Texas. Lori received a revelation that Charles will die in an accident on his way back home from Texas. He doesn't die, and Lori is frustrated and tells Melanie she better leave her house. So remember, Melanie was allegedly staying with Lori around the time that Charles had come over to pick up JJ, and he was murdered in the house. So allegedly, Melanie G had been staying there. Let me get back to this. She calls and has Alex come and stay with her. Next morning, Charles is killed. Chad told Alex that he was the angel that had come and stopped Laman and Lemuel from hurting Nephi, and that he is now Lori's protector. Alex believed all this, and Melanie believes he was her hitman and did all the killings. Charles had Lori committed to mental facility, and they tested her, and she told them who she was, translated part of the 144,000. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? They let her go. July 11, 2019, Charles is killed. September 2019, Lori moves with kids to Rexburg. Melanie is aware that Chad and Lori have taken trips together while both of them are still married to their spouses. They took a trip to visit multiple temples and receive revelation on who is a part of the 144,000. They get up early in the morning to walk around the BYU track together, holding hands and kissing. Tammy has become suspicious. Okay. Chad tells Lori that Tammy has now become a zombie. Lori, meanwhile, is telling Melanie that she can't wait to have sex with Chad and how it is such an important part of who you are and everyone should be having it at least once a day. With Chad, they would be having it 3 times a day. Chad and Lori told Melanie that Alex, Kay, and Ty Lee have now become zombies. By the way, it looks like Kay was now targeted to be a zombie. Lori withdrew them from school, and this was the last anyone saw of them. October 2019, Tammy dies. Chad calls Melanie, tells her not to answer the phone because the police would be calling her because he told them that the kids were with her. Melanie asked where the kids are, and he said that they were with Kay. Later, police came to her house, and she told them what she knew. She started fearing for her life. She left her kids with her recently divorced husband and kid's father and went and stayed with David Warwick in Utah. They've been dating and are on Chad and Lori's chart. David becomes skeptical and wants out of it. Wants out of it. That's my own note, personal note. That's just me, guys. David wants out of it. What was David in? Were they in a group with him? I don't know. Sets her straight and has her give full report to police. She also records a conversation over the phone with Chad and Lori where she confronts them about their false beliefs and cheating on their spouses. Lori blows her off and quotes scriptures of why Melanie is wrong. This was early January. November 2019, Chad and Lori married. Day after Thanksgiving, Melanie receives email from Lori full of beautiful pictures of their wedding on the beach. She didn't even know they got married at this point. December 2019, Alex dies, possible blood clot in the lung. Melanie said the kids are most likely dead. All were probably killed by Alex. Melanie remembers that Lori and Chad were frustrated why Tammy had not died yet. Chad told Lori it's not easy to get someone's spirit out of their body. Ooh, that's not good. At any time, Lori and Chad could tell the number of zombies there were in any given state, usually around 20,000 nationally. They also said two of the apostles are zombies, Ballard and Renlund. They also believe that the SHTF is this year and they could just wait this out in Hawaii and then come back. So this seems to be a fairly accurate recounting of something Melanie Gibb would have told somebody, and then it's filtered through their own lens. I found some more documents coming from Kay and Larry Woodcock corresponding with law enforcement. So this is right after Charles's murder. Let's just hammer this in. Kay Woodcock was in communication with authorities right after Charles's murder. She was essentially going to go for custody of JJ if Lori was going to give her any pushback. And so essentially the whole entire time she is in communication with the different law enforcements. And they started sharing information before there were more murders. So yeah, we can go back and say, what if, but, it makes you wonder that if something else could have been done, maybe some of these murders wouldn't have happened. But let's look at this document. Lastly, Lori is not going to allow JJ to come to Lake Charles for his dad's memorial service. We are extremely distraught about it. This is war. Later today, I'm calling an attorney in Hawaii whom Charles reached out to when he was filing for divorce but never followed through. I'm hiring a private investigator to see if she's already got, quote, her next husband, lined up. Charles suspected she was having an affair with the cult leader. Don't know his name. But Lori would make videos of herself dancing, then send them to her. I guess she meant him, send them to him. She used Charles's computer or email to send one, and he found it. So he found a video of her singing and dancing around and sent to Chad Daybell. Ugh. We're going to sue for at least grandparent visitation rights, and if we have a fighting chance for full custody. I'll be damned if she's going to brainwash JJ into thinking his dad was no good, and even worse, not keeping his memory alive. Then when Lori discovers she's not the beneficiary on Charles's life insurance policy, she fires off angry texts to Larry and Kay Woodcock. And look at the date here, because Kay turns around and gives it right to the authorities. July 29th, 2019. Who's not dead? Tylee's not dead. JJ's not dead. Alex isn't dead. Tammy's not dead. Okay, let's look at this. Looks like she's angry about me being beneficiary. These are the screenshots from Larry's iPad. She sent yesterday. I saw it just now. I also included my response to her. I lied saying I didn't know I was beneficiary because technically I wasn't sure. All this niceness I'm portraying via texts and calls are making me a huge liar. But for JJ, I would dance with the devil, which I'm pretty much when conversing with her. And look at this one from 8/13/2019. Tylee was not yet dead. Keep this in mind. Kay Woodcock is sending a message to Detective Moffat. I spoke with Nicole. Redacted said you can crack Tylee, but you think she's a minor. Lori told me Tylee was emancipated in order to make financial obligations with the money left to her via, I'm sure that's Joseph Ryan's death, naming her sole beneficiary. I have Tylee's social security number if you need it. I believe cracking Tylee would be easily accomplished. In Tylee's mind, she would have to deal with Lori's and the family backlash, which would make her life unbearable. That would be her hesitation, which I'm sure you can circumvent. Tylee accused redacted, which Tylee admitted within recent past to Lori and Charles that it wasn't true. Okay, so there was something that Tylee had said, which she had taken back, And if you look, in order to make Lori happy, I think we can all figure out what that was. The accusations of child SA. Perhaps one of the reasons that the authorities didn't feel comfortable contacting Tylee at this juncture of the drama is because she was a minor and they would have to go through her parent. One of her parents were, well, I guess her dad was dead. Joe Ryan was dead, so all she had was Lori. And do you think Lori was going to let the authorities talk to Tylee without good reason? But look at the date, 8/13/2019. Tylee's not dead yet. Look at the date on this one. This is from Kay Woodcock to Detective Moffat, September 17th, 2019. At this point, Tylee is deceased and JJ is still alive. She says, truck is at Colby's, address below. Forgot to tell you. Also, Brandon Boudreaux saw JJ and says he's okay. It gives us a little relief to hear that. So now we know by September 17th that although Kay was being kept from JJ, that Brandon Boudreaux had laid eyes on JJ and said he was okay. Again, this is so frustrating that we couldn't go back in time and have Ellie intervene on some pretense. And Kay is still communicating with the detectives. Here we have October 27th, 2019. At this point, we now know that both the children were dead. Chad Daybell, cult leader, whom Charles suspected Lori was having an affair. Just so happens his wife passed away in her sleep on 10/19/2019 in Salem, Idaho. I'll send her obit shortly. How odd is that? I wonder if she was heavily insured. She was, Kay, she was. And you know what, Kay? You should be the dang detective here. You should be the detective. Let me go back to this. Lori had a large room at their home before she and Charles separated, which she used as a dance studio. She would record herself dancing 2 to 3 hours nightly and send vids to Daybell, which Charles discovered she was doing. Alex quit his job. Whereabouts unknown. He must be hiding with Lori and JJ? Brandon gave Melanie $300,000 for divorce settlement in the recent past, like just before Lori moved and before they attempted his murder. Melanie is obviously the new golden goose since they murdered Charles. They'll run through that money quickly. Also, Brandon discovered Melanie stopped their divorce proceedings 2 days before they attempted to murder him. Something about she couldn't collect his life insurance if a divorce is pending. So on December 8th, 2019, Kay Vallow Woodcock lets them know that she's going to do the welfare check. Tomorrow morning, we're calling a child welfare check to Arizona and Idaho Children's Services, that's DCS, to poise ourselves to get JJ without issue once found. I'm assuming this will cause no issue for investigations, but we don't really care about all that. All we care about is we must get our boy back, and you have to find him quickly. Nate, I will give them your contact information. I will give them a brief explanation and direct them to you for further clarification. This is heartbreaking, you guys. I bought JJ some super cool glow-in-the-dark pajamas tonight. We want him wearing them by Christmas here with us. I pray this can happen. And here are the documents regarding Zulema Ruth Pastenes from the document dump. I want to note that most of the documents that mention her at all are like 99% redacted. One thing we can add to the timeline is the information that Zulema left Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, en route to Santiago, Chile on July 15th, 2019, and that she returned to Fort Worth, Texas from Santiago, Chile via American Airlines on 8/1/2019. So she is out of the country during that period of time. Before his death, both Alex and Zulema were being surveilled. Here's some information about that. Zulema was seen this morning around 10 a.m. driving this vehicle with the below dealer plate. Below is the dealer information and the VIN. Zulema was dressed in conservative dress clothes, and Jim was able to follow her to the Gilbert Temple. So she and Alex were going to the temple. The car is in her name and it's expired. I'm not aware of anyone being a dealer. 2 subjects that resemble Alex and Zulema were seen last night around 6:40 leaving in the silver Ford truck, and they returned around 7:30. Here's a few other things I found regarding the Avow website that came from the document dump. Someone had pasted on Avow an article that had been posted elsewhere, and this person had been purporting to be someone related to Chad, okay? And this is part of it. Chad and Tammy's kids are all okay. Their youngest is 19 and is in South Africa for an LDS mission. The other 4 are all adults, and most of them are married. Unfortunately, they've mostly cut contact with our side of the family, but from what I understand, they're being approached by strangers and being harassed about this. In general, the family is trying to stay positive, but we're ready to disown Chad once we have some solid information about the missing kids. This picture is what got my attention, guys, because this was posted to Avow. It was probably copied and pasted like most things, like from someplace else. But I thought to myself, boy, that looks familiar. Do you see that railing in those falls? This is a picture of Chad Daybell and his wife, Tammy Daybell, in front of falls with that same railing, and let me show you what it looks just like. Remember the picture that Alex Cox took at Mesa Falls, and someone took a picture of him taking a picture? This is the picture. This seems like the same exact falls, the same exact spot, the same exact handrail as the picture of Chad and Tammy Daybell standing at the falls. Now, I'm not saying it's the same date. I'm just saying it's a coincidence. So I'm going to round this out with Adam Cox's wife's version of events as she knew it. This was on August 8th of 2019. She sent this over to the detectives. Good evening, Nathan. I'm blank. I'm married to Adam Cox, the brother of Alex Cox and sister Lori Vallow. I'm emailing in regards to what happened to my brother-in-law, Charles Vallow, and feel like you need to know what is really going on. Since this has all happened, the whole family on my husband's side has cut us out of their lives, deleted us off social media, and won't talk to us. They're mad that we know the truth and won't tell a lie. Lori and Alex both think they are immortal beings. Lori does a podcast and is a follower of Julie Rowe. This is like a cult. The last few months, she's been telling family members Charles's body has been overcome by a demon and it's not Charles and he needed to die. She told my son Zach this. Zach called my husband and I, both telling us how crazy she was becoming. She one day made up this lie and Charles was cheating on her, and she took his truck, clothes, cut off his credit card, took all his money in the bank, left him stranded somewhere, and he couldn't even fly home. He finally made it home, and she left JJ with him and never came back for 58 days, or called or texted, nothing. She was missing. She never talked to anyone in the family either, only Alex. She stayed at Alex's house, new house. Charles was calling us and texting my husband every day, so worried and couldn't believe a mother would leave her child. The rest of the family, my mother and father-in-law and sister-in-law, all cut Charles off. Very odd. He did nothing wrong. Charles pays for all their cell phones, car insurance. I mean, they use this poor guy. He would call and tell Adam how Lori had a list of all the family members and what spirit levels they were, like we were all evil spirits, that she talks to God all the time. She knows he isn't Charles anymore and he needed to die. Lori even said her daughter Tylee is a dark spirit. That I have to agree with. Okay. She would lie, call her mom a bee at the age of 8. Terrible human being, that kid. She hated Charles for no reason. Lazy and spoiled. She would do anything to not to have to ever work or get up early. She doesn't go to school, nothing. Her brother, same thing. Both just use poor Charles for money all the time. That has to be the older brother, by the way. She can't be talking about JJ. When Lori found out Charles was moving to Houston, taking JJ, she just showed up one day after 58 days and said she wanted to go with him, but had to go to Hawaii first for 12 days. Still hasn't even seen JJ. He was at school. She went to Hawaii, then she and Tylee drove to Houston and showed up. She convinced him to come back to Phoenix. This all happened less than 2 months ago. Charles started calling Adam, telling him, I have to leave her. She's crazy, and I think her and Alex are going to kill me. He told my husband this. Charles asked Adam to come down and help him get her committed to a hospital. Charles used his frequent flyer miles to fly Adam down. The morning Charles was shot, he texted Adam that Alex is here. Why would Alex be at Lori's at 7 a.m. in the morning as he had his own house? Also with a gun? Adam texted him back, said be careful, I think they're up to something. Adam never heard from Charles again. Insert mic drop, guys. That's crazy. That is not going to look good in court. I heard Lori drove JJ to school. How are you rational enough to drive a kid to school and your husband is dead on the floor? Remember, my husband is there to help Charles, and the family doesn't know why Adam is there, and he didn't tell anyone that's why he came down. Adam and my son Zach went to Tucson that afternoon to see our friends. Adam never heard back from Charles. He even called me and said, I'm worried sick. I think Alex and Lori did something to Charles. He hasn't texted or called me. Now it's Friday, and I get a text message from my mother-in-law that says, Coco, that was so sweet of you to let Adam use your miles to come down here. We enjoy him so much. Just wish you could have come too. Love you. Charles had been dead 24 hours now. Everyone knows in the family, and not one of them has called me or Adam or Zach. They know Adam is in Tucson. Why wouldn't you call your own son? Saturday morning comes. Adam can't stop thinking about Charles. His best friend, Dr. Lane, says, what's his name? And Googled it. Sure enough, pops up what they said happened, family dispute. Adam and Zach just broke down. Adam knew immediately his own brother and sister killed him. So Adam and Zach drive back to Phoenix to Janice and Barry's house, his parents, who have yet to call any of us. So odd. They walk in and his mom starts screaming at him and Zach. They had gone through Charles's phone while he lay dead, and she said she knew why Adam was really there to help Charles have Lori committed. I don't know why, guys, I don't know why this stuff wasn't picked up by the mainstream media. To me, this is the kind of stuff that's like, starts putting the puzzle pieces together about who knew what, when, and what they thought was going on, and maybe some motivation. You know what? I didn't see any of this on mainstream media. Adam said, why did you text Nicole that? She was screaming at them. His dad came out from the room, asked to see Adam's phone, and said, I want to make sure you're not recording us. The whole thing is crazy. Adam, Zach packed their stuff, left their house, and deleted us from their life. Cousins have called and all know Alex and Lori are crazy and know they killed Charles. Let me give you a background on Alex. Dad went to jail for writing a false document to a judge. Dad put everything in Alex's name so the IRS couldn't take it. Well, while Dad in jail, Alex refinanced her home and took $250,000 and spent it all on hookers. 2 years later, Alex, still no job, lives at home. Family acts like nothing ever happened. Sister Stacy found by Alex almost dead. Family in Hawaii, and while Stacy was at a facility dying, Alex was at home ordering off her credit cards. Once again, family sweeps it under the rug. 5 years later, living in Phoenix now, still lives with parents, age 40. Lori gets these little dogs, 2 of them. Well, Lori didn't want them anymore, so Alex one day picks them up and takes them to the desert, tossed them out of the car, drove off, always would joke about it. Brandon spent a lot of time with Charles, and when he found out he was shot and killed, he was scared he was next. They plotted and planned this. Charles went there to get his kid. He'd been telling everyone they were going to kill him. Lori herself has told people he needed to die. Please just keep investigating. Charles is the kindest man, most giving man, paid for everything for that family. I know he was leaving her, and he wanted help for her. He had $1 or $2 million policy, and I know Alex will do anything for money. He has no conscience. He never has had one. All of Adam's cousins and his friends know he did it. Just a few months ago, her ex-husband Joe was found dead in his apartment. They don't know why, and Lori got his insurance money. Very odd. She told Kay, Charles' sister, he needed to die. He was evil. He lived in an apartment right down the street from her. Alex also attacked Joe Ryan at a courthouse. It wasn't a courthouse. With a stun gun, and Alex went to jail for it. I'm telling you, you need to talk to my husband and son. Ay, ay, ay. This is all crazy, I know, but I swear it to be true on my life, she says. So I'm just going to leave that here. I think that we've gone thoroughly through this document dump. I hope that you found something that you hadn't heard before and that this helps us to firm up our timeline. I also think that we're going to be hearing from some of these people probably in the different cases, maybe on the stand. You know, if what they can speak to isn't hearsay, we'll probably hear from some of these folks. And without further ado, guys, I hope you have an excellent day. Bye.